Stop your grinning and drop your linen. It's movie time. We got movies of all shapes and sizes. We got so many movies, you're going to wish we don't got no movies at all. So, this is Off Screen. I'm Van Cotter. Drop the needle.
Groovy.
Hello, I'm Van Cotter. Welcome to this week's Off Screen. My guest this week, film critic generally to be seen on every screen imaginable around award season, from BBC Radio, from Talk Radio. It's Miss Rebecca Perfect. Hello, Bex.
Hello, hi Van. Thanks for having me on.
It's so great to have you here. So it's because we've got Toy Story, and I thought there's no one better to talk to about Toy Story.
No one that loves Toy Story more than me.
Yeah, who has more boundless enthusiasm?
I know, right?
Than Bex.
But not to the point of annoyance, I promise you.
No, thankfully not. Thankfully not. So, this week we've got some big movies. We've got a reboot of Child's Play. We've got Toy Story 4. We've got The Flood with not one but two Game of Thrones alums in there, because that sells at the moment, you see. And then we've got...
rinse it for what it's worth.
and an Ethan Hawke movie. And he's going a bit silly as well, would you believe?
Nice. I do love Ethan Hawke. I'm more sort of like 80s and 90s Ethan Hawke, but, you know, I'll take what I can get.
But when he was young and cool and Gattaca-ish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, okay, first review of the week. And I know you've not seen this one, so it's kind of
No.
up to me to kind of sell this one to you. Let's talk Child's Play 2K19.
Yes, I have to say, although I haven't seen this one, I'm a huge fan of Child's Play. One of my earliest memories is sitting with my cousins at way too young an age, watching this movie, actually out in the Philippines. So if anyone's listening from the Philippines, hello, kumusta? Been sitting there watching it with them and suddenly being so scared.
You know the weird part? I think you and I actually discovered Child's Play from the same source.
Really?
Was it Star TV out of the Philippines or
It
Orbit?
might well have been. I mean, this is a long time ago.
But it's the same for me. I was growing up in the Middle East, so we may have discovered it through the same...
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
a funny old world.
I know, right? Where ratings have no boundaries.
Exactly. So Child's Play is back. It's rebooted, remade, revitalised. It is a whole new thing. This comes to us from Norwegian director Lars Klevberg. It stars Aubrey Plaza as the mum. It stars Gabriel Bateman as the kid. The cop this time around is Brian Tyree Henry. You might remember from Widows. And he was the local crime boss, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And our Chucky this time around is none other than Sir Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker
Legend.
himself. So, Chucky is now no longer a good guy doll, he's a buddy doll. Buddy with an eye. They are smart dolls. They interact with your home appliances. They're like a Furby meets an Alexa. And the one that happens to fall into the hands of single-parent child Andy Barclay is, well, let's just say the murderously clingy type, thanks to a software error from a disgruntled suicidal Foxconn employee. None of that I am making up. Here's a clip.
Andy, I know this move has been really tough, and I know I've been working a lot, so I think you deserve this.
Mom, I need to tell you something. Something's wrong with Chucky. He's trying to kill us!
What this screams to me is kind of Black Mirror meets Chucky.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what it is. So basically,
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, you haven't even seen it and you got that.
Yeah.
There's no murderous serial killer trapped in a doll's body trying to get himself out. That's gone. There's no Charles Lee Ray in this version, no Tiffany, nothing. It doesn't even do that thing where they keep making in-jokes about the original. It's like RoboCop, where he keeps coming out saying, dead or alive, you're coming with me, or I'll buy that for $1. Although, weirdly, I did keep thinking of RoboCop and The Italian Job during this, because they're both movies that I wish were actually sequels, like decades later sequels. This, I wish, was nothing to do with Child's Play. I think it's a really good movie.
Do you know what? It sounds like to me that what's been really clever about this movie is that they've taken something that's incredibly topical. It's on point now. It's like, you know, we are living in these smart homes, smarter lives, all that kind of stuff. Why shouldn't movies reflect all of this? And this is what I think, like, Black Mirror, as an example, does things really well because it takes it even further. But bringing it into the genre of horror, I mean, this is interesting.
I don't know. I mean, you remember about 10 years ago, there was a horror film called Pulse. It was terrible. It was absolutely dreadful. But it starred...
You always come up with these terrible horror films. You always say, oh, do you remember this film? I didn't watch it because it's terrible.
How many terrible movies have I mentioned to you over the last few years? So Pulse was, I think, 2007. It was Kristen Bell from Frozen, Veronica Mars, and The Good Place.
I think we've got our answer right there.
Yeah. And Frankie Muniz, I think, was in it as well.
Again,
and the idea was...
rest my case.
It was evil in the Wi-Fi. There was evil spirits in the Wi-Fi signals. That was the one.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's something that I also thought of as well. But yeah, like you say, Black Mirror, very Jordan Peele Twilight Zone. Mark Hamill's a lot of fun in this. Aubrey Plaza's fun as Aubrey Plaza. The kid's quite good. He's got more of a beefed up role than the original kid Alex Vincent did because the character is a lot older now. The character's now a 12-year-old, so it's a bit more losers from it.
Oh, nice. Okay,
gets
I like
a few
that.
friends.
Yeah,
as well. Yeah,
the group camaraderie. I quite like that.
So you get a bit of that. You know, there's no BMXs or anything, no Stranger Things, but it's kind of along those lines. Some inventive deaths, some great visceral, hilarious gore, and loads of punchy, bathos-driven lines. And there's a reference to a dead musician that's going to bring down the ceiling in any screen that you're possibly going to see.
Just what you need. But I mean, from a horror point of view, just quickly, does it live up to it? Is it still a good horror?
Yeah, there's some jumps.
Okay.
There's some laughs. It's not a straight horror film like Curse and Cult of Chucky were.
Yeah.
This reboot is going for something more of a horror-driven version of Small Soldiers.
Okay.
If I just leave it at that,
So,
I think.
Child's Play aficionados will still love it, but people new to the franchise?
I think Child's Play aficionados will say, actually, this is a pretty good movie, but I wish it was nothing to do with Child's Play, because it's nothing to do with Child's Play.
Okay.
Why have you changed everything and then still kept it as Chucky? It doesn't make any sense. So let's talk about. Is there anything in the film news that's caught your eye this week? There's a story that's caught my attention this morning.
Well, apart from there's obviously been the awful news of the stabbing at the Witches.
Yes,
that
this
happened
was
with
insane.
Warner Brothers, which is something like a movie in itself. I mean, it's very meta what's happened there. The Anne Hathaway
quite the
reboot
narrative.
of the Witches. Awful story. It sounds like it was a fallout between two crew members.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And one got stabbed
like
in
John
the throat.
Wick. What?
It does.
Yeah.
Like-
So that's what I've been keeping an eye on this week, and just seeing what's been unfolding as a result of that. But there is other movie news, right?
Oh, there is. Also, Ray Winston has been cast in the new Black Widow movie at Marvel. So, yeah, that's a thing that's
Sorry,
happening.
I was just a bit speechless.
I know,
there.
right? Yeah.
I wish there was a video that could have just seen my face.
Yeah, exactly. When we get the live stream working, we will. But Ray Winston is joining the Marvelverse. This
I'm
is
not sure
a
how I
thing
feel about that. I
happening.
mean, when he was in Snow White and the Huntsman, I was a bit like, what is going on here?
I'll stick with Marvel for one more thing before we go on to talk about the Captor. Keanu Reeves apparently has been asked to be in nearly every single Marvel movie, according to
Yes.
Kevin Feige.
And he's turned it down. He's not Keanu.
No, he's Keanu. So, let's talk then about the Captor really quickly. So the Captor is an interesting one. The Captor is known in pretty much every other country in the world as Stockholm. This is the story of how Stockholm Syndrome came to be a thing.
Right.
So it stars Ethan Hawke and Noomi Rapace. She is the bank clerk, he is the bank robber.
Okay.
He's also got an incarcerated accomplice played by Mark Strong, who he negotiates for the freedom of.
Please tell me Mark Strong's yet another villain.
Mark Strong is another one of the robbers. He's got some scraggly 1970s hair. He's got a terrible wig on, that shiny dome of his. And by its own description, it is based on the absurd but true 1973 bank heist. And that's it. It's Ethan Hawke takes a bank with his mates, and he has to negotiate with the police, who are led by Christopher Heyerdahl, whom you'll just know from any TV show filmed in Canada ever. He's on all of them. He's just that guy from That Thing, only That Thing is everything.
Canadians, I hope you're listening.
Indeed. Canadians will know him. They will. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's been a member of every race in Stargate, at least.
Okay.
So this is him as the cop, negotiating with Ethan Hawke while Hawke is hiding in a vault, and the cop has decided to send tear gas down to flush him out.
We're going to send in tear gas. You have 1 minute to give up. Place your weapons into the bag, slide it under the hole so we can see them. 1 minute or we start the gas.
No. What do you mean? You said you were gonna...
1 minute!
It's not the phone. You have to press the red button.
What's going on? Hey! You said you were gonna let us go!
Things have changed.
What do you mean? What? We should do what he says. No way, man! You said we could go!
1 minute.
So it's got a certain zaniness to it, a little bit of wackiness for Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen him go this broad before, actually.
No, and do you know what? I think...
Have I?
I don't know, but I think what I'm looking forward to is seeing Noomi Rapace in this as well, because I think she's great, and I haven't seen her on the screens properly recently, like in a big movie.
I don't think she's had a great role in a few years. It's very strange, because didn't she get one of the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes sequels at one point?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
but again, not one of the great roles.
No, not one of the great ones, obviously. But, a girl with a dragon. Oh, no, she was the original girl with the dragon.
Yeah, I mean,
What am
that's the thing. I
thinking
think
of?
that's why I'm kind of like, she's got so much range.
Yeah.
And we need to bring her back to the forefront again. I think people have kind of lost her a little bit, so it's good to hear of her name again.
I think so. This has something of a say you'd watch it on a weeknight at 9 o'clock on Film 4 kind of vibe to it.
Okay, that's
like,
not a bad
definitely
thing.
that. It's not a bad movie. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it does feel something kind of low level and televisual about it.
Okay.
A movie you might catch on streaming, for
have a
instance.
chat with the crew, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, perfectly fine. And actually, I was kind of happy to see Christopher Heyerdahl in a movie role for a change. I thought that was
And not
nice.
on Canadian TV.
And, yeah, exactly, not under £5 of latex on a Vancouver filmed sci-fi show.
I wish I knew who you were talking about. I really do.
You know what?
I'm intrigued.
I bet there's something you watch that he has a prominent role in, because he does everything. So that's it. We'll be back after the jump to visit the return of the Toy Story.
Welcome back to Offscreen. I'm Rebecca Perfect, and I am joining Van Connor this week. And actually, I sound like I'm taking over.
You do, don't you? I like it. It's authority. It's authority.
There we go. Lose your job. I'll take over. Thanks very much. We're talking about Toy Story 4, and I couldn't be more excited about this because the gang are back, but Woody is finding it a little hard with Andy being gone to adjust to being in Bonnie's toy box.
Separation anxiety there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And, after meeting her new toy, Forky, who I have to say is a firm favourite in my book,
Yes.
the whole gang go on this big adventure. And Woody actually embarks on a little bit of a romance because we see the return of Bo Peep. I mean, it's everything you want from a Toy Story movie and a little bit more as well.
Should we have a clip?
Let's do it.
Oh, hi, Giggle.
Whoa, you didn't tell me he was a cop. Howdy, Sheriff. Officer Giggle McDimples. I run Pet Patrol for Minneapolis. Yeah, search and rescue.
Very quick introduction to Giggle McDimples, though, who's played by Ali Mackey. I was surprised to find.
Brilliant. Who is actually Polly Pocket for anyone here in the UK.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I was like, oh my God, Americans know what Polly Pocket is?
I know, and I was like, oh my goodness, here is my childhood flooding back to me and my saving of my pocket money.
So many great new characters as well.
So much fun in this. What I love about Toy Story is how they managed to bring out old new toys. Okay,
yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so every film that we have, we get that kind of, oh my goodness, I remember that again. How did they not fit this into the old movies? They're saving it for this one. Now, the thing about Toy Story 4 in my book is it is tagging on to what was a brilliant trilogy.
Kind of the perfect trilogy,
yeah,
some say.
It really was, and a poignant ending in the final trilogy as well. And the thing is with this is that it could have gone one of two ways. I'm happy to report that it really went in a good way.
It really did.
Yeah.
But, okay, genuine questions of a Toy Story movie,
Okay.
the checkbox ones. Did you laugh?
I did.
Did you cry?
Almost.
Almost good enough. That's a Toy Story movie. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. Because as long as you did those things.
But you know what really makes this is it's the little nuances. It's the little chuckle moments. So it's not big laughs. It's those little like.
Can I point out this one, Toy Story 4, has my single favourite gag of the entire Toy Story series.
Which is?
Which is, I'm not going to give any details, but it involves the two new characters, Ducky and Bunny.
Yes.
Fun is for Ducky and Bunny, is it?
Ducky and Bunny.
Ducky and Bunny.
Ducky and Bunny.
Who are played by Key and Peele.
Yep.
Both of whom I worship as a double act.
Right.
And it is a gag about them causing a distraction, and it's the funniest gag for me in any of these movies.
That was hilarious.
Because it's so Key and Peele. It's a Key and Peele gag, and that's something that stuck out for me with Toy Story 4. It's got a harder edge to that comedy than any of the others, I think. It's a lot more out there. It's more willing to be razor sharp.
And do you know what? I think if you're thinking that Toy Story traditionally, you might think, I have to go and see this with my kids, right? Parents, if you're listening, this isn't just one where you go, I'm going to drop off the kids at the cinema. This is where you'll be dragging the kids to go, I want to watch this. You're coming with me.
Yeah, I'll go again.
For me, this movie, it's got everything that you want from a Toy Story movie, as we mentioned. But it's the little nuances.
Gorgeous,
that
though, isn't it?
It's beautiful. And this is the thing, they're all kind of timeless in their look and feel. But it's the additional little characters. So there's three little soldiers, I think you remember.
Combat Carl.
Yes.
Combat Carl, played by Carl Weathers.
Fantastic.
Which apparently was an idea of Tom Hanks's. Apparently that's Tom Hanks's idea.
Genius that he is Tom Hanks.
He really is America's sweetheart, isn't he?
What I love about this is that there's even like moments which are just so funny for adults. It's a high five moment, so I'm going to just leave it at that.
I know what you mean.
And it absolutely cracked me up. The most brilliant addition to this is also Keanu Reeves. I mean, he's a brilliant addition. Duke Kaboom, the Canadian stuntman toy. Yes, we Canada is all I'm going to say about that.
That is up there with
brilliant.
Are You a Mexican or a Mexican from Once Upon a Time in Mexico. That's just one of those great ones.
It's one of those great lines. It's brilliant. I loved seeing the footage from the LA premiere of this, where everyone was like, really fun and colourful and fluffy, and then Keanu Reeves rocks up in a black suit.
I love him.
He's so John Wick about it.
He can't do any wrong, Keanu Reeves.
No,
He
Marvel
really
would
can't.
seem to think so as well.
Very, very true. So, big thumbs up from you for Toy
Massive.
Story 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big thumbs up from me as well. I thought this was great.
I would
really
say
did.
my only caveat on that is if you are a die-hard Toy Story fan, you know that trilogy is almost sacred in its look and feel. And this, as a tagging on to the end, probably doesn't quite live up to the brilliance of the three, but it's still very much up there.
Yeah, it does it justice, I would
It
say.
definitely
does it
does,
justice,
yeah.
even if it can't quite
It's a
step
nice
out from
kind of
under the shadow.
ending to it. So
A
I
denouement,
liked
as
it.
it were.
Ouais, très bien.
So, piece of film news that's just come in. We are getting a sequel, starting filming this year. It's going to be out for Halloween 2020. And it's going to be a sequel to the reboot sequel of Halloween, which cancels out all the other sequels.
Oh my goodness,
and
you've
the
lost me.
reboots.
You've lost me like X-Men Dark Phoenix. I mean,
Exactly,
the
right? Yeah.
timeline of this is just so much of a headache, I don't even know. I was just saying to you just off air that actually, I think the last time I really watched a Halloween movie was back in the early 2000s. And
Halloween H20.
H2O.
H2O. It's supposed to be H20. Everyone calls it
It's
H2O.
H2O, isn't it?
H2O.
It's the water one.
But that's the thing, because it came out around the same time as The Waterboy did.
Yeah, oh,
So
shocker.
everyone was calling it H2O.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. So I love Halloween. I've stepped away from it for a while. I'd be interested to see. I mean, are they really flogging a dead horse with this?
No, actually, that reboot call was quite good.
Okay.
That was pretty decent.
Take your word for
So
it.
the way it works is you've got the original 1978 Halloween, John Carpenter. You've got this reboot call that we had last year where Jamie Lee Curtis returns. That is the new Halloween 2, but confusingly it's just called Halloween. And now we're going to get a Halloween 2/Halloween 3 that is a sequel to this last one.
I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis never ages in my book. And I mean,
They had to age her up for Halloween.
What?
Because she was doing the yogurt adverts at the same time. You're like, okay, that's not the same woman. And
That
it's
is
because they've had
crazy.
to actually make her look, she aged too well. Jamie Lee Curtis aged too well for movies.
I'll have what she's having.
Activia, apparently. Bloody Activia. So let's do our last theatrical review of the week then. We've got 3 minutes. Let's talk about The Flood.
Okay.
So The Flood is a new movie starring Lena Headey and Ian Glenn. So
Oh, yes. Game of Thrones.
is he
Bring it
Ian
back.
Glenn? Ian Glenn?
Ian Glenn, I think.
So this is basically a drama that looks at asylum and immigration issues in England. It's a story that sort of deals with characters who are intertwined
Could
with
not
this
be
element.
further from Game of Thrones.
I
if you
know,
try.
right? So on the one hand, you have the immigration staff themselves, who are Lena Headey, who's struggling with alcoholism, a disintegrating home life, only has her job, and even then isn't really terribly willing to commit to it. She's kind of just clinging on and slogging through it, powered only by vodka. And then you have an adult asylum seeker who becomes her latest case, her latest interviewee, and we go through his story. So we're dealing with these two dramas in tandem. I've got a clip for you that should hopefully set the tone.
Do you think I'm a terrorist? Is that why...
That's standard procedure. Have you ever been involved in or supported terrorism?
You understand, when you are trying to cross borders, the only people that will help you are dangerous people.
I was told to come here.
Where do you want to go?
You know, people only give you something if they want something.
You're just in time. I help the people.
How much does help cost?
So, not really a rom-com.
No, not really. But
No.
I have to say, Lena Headey, one of our national treasures here in the UK.
Oh, totally.
Her range is insane. My favourite is seeing her in, like, Dread.
Oh, God, she's so good in Dread, isn't she?
She's so good.
Did you ever see her in the Steve Coogan one, The Parole Officer?
Do you admit to watching that?
Oh, I totally do. I quite enjoyed The Parole Officer. I make no apologies.
I mean, most recently, Fighting with My Family, again, a completely different role.
Love
and
Fighting with Family.
of course, Cersei in Game of Thrones. I mean, can this woman play play any more characters? She is just so brilliantly versatile.
She's also the second Queen of Westeros to have played Sarah Connor. So,
Yes.
we should always never overlook that little bit of trivia.
No.
Interesting one, this one. Ian Glenn's not really got a huge part in it. Lena Headey's kind of got the second lead.
Okay.
She's great. She's absolutely as great as you would think she
Yep.
is. Big ups to Ivana Jeremiah as well, who plays Hale, the interviewee. And Mandip Gill from Doctor Who.
Oh.
She's in this. She's got quite a good role in this, and she's got way bigger sort of silver screen chops than I would have expected.
Well, that's good to hear.
Like, there's some range in there that I honestly wouldn't have quite... She's good on Doctor Who, but she's got a lot more depth here than I would have expected. This is out like everything else this week from Friday the 21st. Wholeheartedly recommend it. I mean,
so it sounds like a good week for movies.
It is a good week for movies. I would say with The Captor and the Flood, you can keep those for home, but definitely Child's Play and Toy Story, worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Do you want to stay up to date on the movies coming out this weekend? Do you wonder which movies to see and which to skip? Do you enjoy discussion of the themes in the latest movies? Stay up to date on the latest movies with This Week in Movies podcast, TWIM for short. This Week in Movies podcast offers fresh reviews, analysis and insights for the latest movies in wide release. They won't spoil any of these movies without first giving you a warning. This Week in Movies is a weekly podcast. Subscribe now on your podcast platform of choice. And we're going to give a shout out to our friends at Twillery for sponsoring us this week. Shirts shouldn't wrinkle, itch or sweat. It is 2019 after all. So Twillery makes stocking up your closet as simple as restocking beer in your fridge, apparently. It's easy, it's affordable, and the perfect fit guaranteed. They offer non-iron, untuckable, and performance dress shirts for as low as $55 each when you bundle 4 or more of them, and they give you free shipping and returns. So you can try on some Twills risk-free. After all, feeling is believing apparently, and these things apparently feel incredible. So smart casual just got a little smarter. This is what you'd call one of the smart shirts. It's also cheaper. Twillery brings performance work shirts to the next level with the 4-way stretch material that sort of sweat wicks, shuts down wrinkles. It keeps you looking cool and fresh for as low as $55 a pop. So pop over to twillery.com/offscreen for $25 off with the promo code offscreen. And we're back and we're headed to telly, Miss Perfect.
Well, there is some top telly, I have to say. I'm quite glad. You're really
is.
touching on my sort of 90s and like late 80s, early 90s kind of feel.
It's kind of the remit of this show, to be honest.
Yes, I've been waiting for this my whole life.
We have a very specific demographic. But no, it tends to just be the fun movies that are on telly. Always tend to be the late 80s, early 90s ones. But
they're the best.
Let's start then. So we start our week on Saturday. This goes out on Friday. So here's what to watch this week from Saturday. So do you want to kick us off with our first film? What have we got first?
Okay, so we've got Hunt for the Wilder People on Film 4 at 9 o'clock. You are going to have to educate me on this. For my sins, I have not seen this.
This was Taika Waititi's movie that he made between What We Do in the Shadows and Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, can I say What We Do in the Shadows?
You're sold on that, aren't you?
I'm so sold. Not sold on the series.
No? Oh, it's so good.
No.
Oh, big fan.
Oh, it's disappointed.
Oh, there's... just watch episode 7 on its own. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, right. I have to get to episode 7. I stopped at episode 2.
Episode 7, you will die.
Okay, fine. Literally.
You'll undie. You'll undie. You'll
okay,
undie. Okay, so Hunt for the Wilder People, though, is about a foster boy. He gets taken in by an old couple. The boy is played by Julian Dennison, you might remember from Deadpool 2.
Yep.
He gets taken in by a couple, the patriarch of whom is Sam Neill, an aging, grumpy Sam Neill.
Who doesn't love Sam
exactly.
Neill?
When Sam Neill becomes a widow, social services show up to take the kid away, and the kid runs off, and it's a bonding adventure through the woods.
And is it based in New Zealand? Is it?
Of course it is.
Of course
it's Taika
it is.
Just checking. Taika Waititi, of course it's in New Zealand. I'm amazed Thor Ragnarok wasn't in New Zealand.
I know, there were moments though.
So, Sunday then, we're going from New Zealand to Soviet Russia. It is the best of the Rocky movies. Fight me if you dare, but it's the best of the Rocky movies. It is Rocky 4 on 5 Spike, and is it 10 past 11?
Yeah, I mean, it's on way too late. It should be on earlier, prime time for this,
it's like
right?
a 70-minute movie.
I know. And also, we were just saying this is a nice sort of lead into Creed 2, which we'll be coming on to talk about a little bit later on.
Yes, yeah, we'll be talking about Creed 2 later.
But yeah, Dolph Lundgren is,
I must break you.
I know, just terrifying. Him in this and Universal Soldier, I mean, for me, it's kind of like
good
my
run
childhood.
for Dolph Lundgren back then.
Yeah, I wish I could pronounce his name better.
Did you know, I was reading I was watching an interview with him recently where he was talking about Aquaman, how he got the job in Aquaman, and apparently James Wan is a big Masters of the Universe fan.
Am I right in thinking that He-Man also does not age? Is he looking a little bit older now, isn't he?
I don't know. Dolph Lundgren aged like 20 years overnight one day. It was a weird thing. He kind of stayed ages. In the same way that Schwarzenegger and Van Damme did. They stayed the same age, frozen
until
chrysalis.
they started to do those beer commercials.
Yeah, that's what it is, the beer commercials. So, Monday. Speaking of comebacks, the mother of all comebacks, Mr. Travolta.
Yeah, absolutely. This is on the Pulp Fiction is on Sony Movie Channel 10 past 11 again.
I know.
So we're going to revisit Jack Rabbit Slims and catch all of the fun there. This is was a seminal movie for me. This is a movie that I still listen to religiously for the soundtrack. I love everything about this movie.
It's such a shorthand, isn't it now? It's a pop culture staple.
Yeah.
It's what Doctor Who would call a fixed point.
It really is. And if you have not seen this, shame on you.
I mean, I loved it because I was a film nerd at that time. I was like a 12-year-old film nerd when Pulp Fiction came out.
Yeah.
So it was the biggest event in the world. It was the rise of Weinstein and things like that.
It was amazing.
Obviously ended badly, but.
Do you know what I did?
But...
I went to my local Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
And I spent all of my pocket money, about age 12 at the time as well, on
all
of the stills, all of the stills from Pulp Fiction, and I just had them all up on my wall. I thought I was the coolest kid in school, and nobody came around to look at those.
I've still got my Cage Fiction T-shirt where they have edited Nicolas Cage into the face of Uma Thurman on the poster of Pulp Fiction.
Anything with Nick Cage in it is good in my book.
You clearly have been to the Philippines. That's what that is. Because in Asia, whenever you've been to Asia, they worship actors like Nicolas Cage.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, he is just the legend that all us Asians love.
To a level we never actually see.
I know, right?
It's like crazy. To like One Direction.
I even visited his future tombstone at
Oh, wow.
New Orleans graveyard, which is like a
Of course he does.
It's
Of course
so
he has
funny.
one.
It's so bizarre. He's such a character.
I would
love
imagine. So Tuesday, then you told me you've not seen this. So on
Don't
ITV4,
tell them.
Wait, I wasn't going to help your ruse. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to be complicit in your lies.
Gene Hackman, John Voight. That's the extent in which I know. It's on my list this weekend to watch after this.
Enemy of the State is a movie that has not aged well, given certain geopolitical events.
Is it still worth me watching?
It is absolutely still worth watching because it's hilarious by today's technological standards. Having said that, it's also a really good Will Smith thriller. And it's a Jerry Bruckheimer movie. And in the 90s, those were really a thing.
Those were the ones you go and watch. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the 90s, you didn't see a blockbuster unless it was a Jerry Bruckheimer blockbuster.
Jerry Bruckheimer, he did Pirates of the Caribbean as well.
He did. Yeah. We like to not bring that up.
Okay, I was going to say, because I was like, why is that sprung into my mind? For all the wrong reasons.
The last really great Jerry Bruckheimer movies were the National Treasure movies, which, funnily enough, starred Nicolas Cage.
And I loved.
As you would.
Yeah.
So, ITV4, 10:40, Tuesday night, Enemy of the State, Will Smith, surveillance spy thriller, kind of a wrong man fugitive kind of a romp. It's really worth seeing. It's got an all-star cast that includes people you wouldn't believe, like Scott Caan, Seth Green, Jamie Kennedy. People like that are in this thriller.
I used to have a real crush on Seth Green. That's really weird.
I'm sure a lot of people had a crush on Seth Green at a very specific point. Yeah, around that Austin Powers kind of time. Yeah. Then he started setting himself up on Entourage and playing himself as a douche, and it all went to hell. So Wednesday then. Speaking of someone everyone loves, Mr. Michael Keaton. And what's better than Michael Keaton?
I know, I loved him. And what makes me think of Michael Keaton is another 90s movie as well, which is Life.
Oh, yes, I remember Life.
Yeah, I really loved that. And I watched it. I mean, again, I thought I was too young to watch something like this because it was actually quite morbid. But he was brilliant in that. Obviously, he had a resurgence a couple of years ago with Birdman as well, which is great to see him back. Also, The Founder. I loved him in that.
Oh, that is such an underrated film.
I know, right?
I
watched it on a plane. And
It's like the McDonald's biopic, isn't it?
Exactly. And we've got to go back and remember how good he is in his earlier work as well. So Multiplicity, Sony Movie Channel, 7:35 p.m. If you haven't caught it, make sure you watch it on Wednesday.
Yeah, so this is basically a comedy in which he has himself cloned to fulfill all
multiple Michael Keatons. Yeah. What is not to love?
Say, what's better than a Michael Keaton? Many Michael Keatons.
Yeah.
And he has himself cloned to fulfill different duties for his family. So one goes to work, one manages the family and the kids.
God, we all need this.
The other one enjoys the free time. Speaking about Michael Keaton movies, one that really went unappreciated, it was crap, admittedly, but it was fun crap, was a 1997-98 thriller in which Michael Keaton was the villain and Andy Garcia was the hero, and it was called Desperate Measures. And it was set entirely.
Don't ever think that should be that way round.
I know, right? that was the gimmick, I think, at the time. They were doing it the inverse. The idea was that Andy Garcia's kid needed a bone marrow transplant to live, and the only compatible donor was a convicted death row inmate, played by Michael Keaton, who engineers the situation to escape.
Do you know what? I love the 90s.
Thought you'd like that. So from one psycho to another, Thursday night, Cape Fear, probably my favourite Martin Scorsese movie. ITV4, 11:40. You could just DVR DVR some of these. You could just Sky Plus them.
Just to So I'm taking my husband through a massive kind of re-education of stuff. It started with the whole John Hughes collection, and I'm going to move it on to Scorsese because he. Sometimes I question why I married him. He really does not have some film knowledge.
Well, I need to revisit Casino. I discovered.
Yeah.
Because Chris Honeysett was talking about Casino. I was like, oh yeah, I should watch that again. I haven't seen it in so many years.
I know, exactly. And this is the great thing about all of these movies that we're mentioning. You may have seen them in their heyday.
Yeah, it's nice to go back to them.
So nice to go back to them. And Cape Fear, I know I watched it around 1991, but I like jogging my memory of this. Has this got Nicole Kidman in it?
No. So right, Cape
Am
Fear.
I getting really confused?
It's around that point because she was in one of the psycho thrillers at that point. Hers was Dead Calm.
Dead Calm.
She did Dead Calm, and then she did Malice. So she had two back to back, and this kind of slotted in the middle of them. I think Dead Calm was like 1990. This is 91. This is a remake of the old Gregory Peck thriller from the 50s.
Nice.
And it's even got the same score and the same kind of opening scenes, everything, the Elmer Bernstein kind of crafting. I'm so in love with this movie, always have been. And I can't help but think part of my enduring charm for it is the fact that it has one of the greatest spoofs ever made for anything, and that is the Simpsons episode Cape Fear, in which Sideshow Bob reenacts various elements.
Do you know what? I think I might have seen that episode.
He winds up seeing Gilbert and Sullivan on a houseboat at the end.
Okay, yes, I think I do recall that. Amazing.
Which is how I know the lyrics to A British Tar.
Brilliant. And also, you know, Robert De Niro, excellent
just
psycho.
So great.
What is he doing bagel adverts right now?
I don't know. The weird thing about De Niro in this, though, as well, is when you look back at it, just it's amazing he looked that young, and this isn't that long ago.
No.
Great performance, though. Nick Nolte, when he was still on very fine film. Jessica Lange was the female lead in this, by the way.
Oh, I love Jessica Lange. Big Fish. Loved her in that.
And because this was an age ago, the teenage daughter is played by
Gwyneth Paltrow?
Juliette Lewis. Juliette Lewis played her.
Really?
Which is astonishing.
There is something else which I saw a very young Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, I think she has done a few as well.
And then she gets killed or something in it. I can't remember.
There's something.
Yeah.
So, final film of the week then, Friday night at 10:35 on the Horror Channel, The Disappearance of Alice Creed with Gemma Arterton. You saw this one?
I did. I have seen this, and I remember watching it weirdly. I watched this in Spain on a really rainy day. And I thought, I've downloaded this or whatever it was, so I wanted to go and catch it. And really good performance from her. Not the movie I was expecting.
No, it's got some nice twists and turns to it, hasn't it?
But it's kind of like it's gone slightly under the radar, but for her, it's like indie kudos for her.
Very much so. I think she's just brilliant in it, though.
Yeah,
I think the performance she puts in, because it's very much not the kind of thing she normally plays either. I think she's great in it. I thought it was
but also,
a really
we haven't really seen
thriller.
her do much recently, to be honest.
Well, she has got a film out, Vita and Virginia she's in soon.
I don't know, but they're not big films. So, you know when she did like the one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
She's gone Italian now.
Prince of Persia or something.
Yeah, she's gone Italian now, you see. She's married up. She's gone to Italy. Isn't she a countess or something, I think? Now?
Good Lord, she's done well.
She's a countess. Holly Valance has gone off to marry a billionaire in Monte Carlo. The world's against me, man. On which note, we'll be back with some home end releases. Big thanks to our friends at Runway East for the luxuriant studio space. Pop along to runwayea.st for details. They're a co-working space. They got branches in Broadgate, Old Compton Street, and more. Check it out. And we're back, and I think it's time we take it to the home end platforms now. What do you think?
I think you've got an amazing selection this week as
I think we've got an interesting one. It's varied. We can say that. Definitely varied.
But I like them for all very many different reasons. There's some really good stuff. So we've got Cold Pursuit, which is released on Monday, June 24th. Can I run through the list?
Yeah, go through the list. Go through the list.
Okay,
what have
we've got Happy Death Day to You, which is also out on Monday. We've got On the Basis of Sex, also out on Monday. And then streaming, you've got Blackmail, which is a 1929 movie, which is available from Sunday, and Creed 2, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, is available on Netflix from Tuesday. There is something for everyone here.
There really is. So let's go through those really quickly. So Cold Pursuit, which kind of got overshadowed by the controversy when it got released,
didn't it? But can we not avoid the fact that this is Liam Neeson in essentially the most bizarre scenario of seeking revenge in a snowplow?
Oh, yeah. You know what annoyed me more than anything is Liam Neeson did this movie, and he could have done Missile Toe, the fictional movie from Daddy's Home too. And it kind of annoyed me that he teased us with one and then did Cold Pursuit.
Yeah. And wasn't this like a remake of a Norwegian thriller?
Yeah, this is
a
remake of the Stellan Skarsgård thriller In Order of Disappearance, which is very good. Now, Cold Pursuit I thought was actually pretty decent. Not brilliant, but decent.
I liked it because I laughed, because I was like, this is like Taken, but on ice.
It is funnier than you thought. By the way, how much did you love the opening line in Men in Black International when Liam Neeson turned up and said, "Oh, hey, Paris"?
Yeah.
That got some chuckles, didn't it? The rest of the film didn't so much.
I
but
love
that
it.
got some chuckles.
I love it. I find with like Gerard Butler when he sort of like does like.
Did you just class up Gerard Butler with
Gerard
Butler?
Oh,
he's not deaf, aren't you?
He should
Gerard
be.
Butler.
He should be, because he always goes up on my in my expectations when someone can laugh at themselves on screen, as he does in London Has Fallen and Olympus Has Fallen, and you always see him just sort of like hold back that absolute sort of
How much are you looking forward
laughter.
to Angel Has Fallen?
Oh, I mean, I'm clearing my diary.
It's my Logan this year, man. So happy Death Day to you. You and I saw the first Happy Death Day together a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
And I don't think the sequel's anywhere near as good as the first one.
No, but I do think it knows how to laugh at itself again. So the whole concept of this is that a girl gets killed and she it's like Groundhog Day, so she repeats the same day and goes through, and it's really, really funny. And, the second movie knows that it's never going to be as good as the first movie, but there was such a fan base for it that they had to make another one.
Slasher ground. This one brings in a physics element. We've got a clip actually of them sort of teetering around the physics plot line of it.
Wait, no, I got it. Okay, you said everything resets but your memory, right?
Yeah?
All right, well then you're just gonna have to be a living record.
You mean memorize everything?
Yeah.
That's genius.
No, that's not genius. I'm not a scientist. And hello? I mean, you do realize there's a killer after me, right? That means I'm gonna have to die over and over again until you guys figure out how to close the loop.
I mean, I guess you could just kill yourself before they find you.
Wow, another genius idea.
I mean, it's not Shakespeare in the Park.
No, but every time she does die and have to kill herself again, it gets more and more absurd, and she knows it, and I loved it
There's
for that.
some great deaths, isn't there? There's just one that absolutely had me howling.
There's one out of the plane where she
that one. Oh, just
flips
love
the
it.
bird on that, and it's brilliant.
They showed you half of that gag in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then you get to the film, there's a bit more to it. You're like, oh my God, that's genius.
Yeah, I mean, I love a film that can laugh at itself. This did it first time round. If you enjoyed that, I think you're going to really enjoy the second one as well. But just don't expect it to be, as good as the first. But it's certainly enjoyable and fun. Yeah.
But so, final DVD then, On the Basis of Sex.
I liked this.
This is the Ruth Bader Ginsburg origin, not even biopic really, the origin story, effectively.
Let's put a superhero element to this, shall we?
It's kind of positioned as the origin story. This is where she gained her powers.
So I wonder, what surprised me about this is that this wasn't awards fodder, okay? So this is not something, it stars Felicity Jones in it and Armie Hammer. Yeah, it
kind
is
of like
a little
Marshall.
bit too, but she was very good in this. And also, it's an American kind of stalwart in terms of their justice system.
Yeah.
They know, someone who's very much loved. Not someone that we necessarily know a lot of here in the UK.
Hey, you're never seeing a Brett Kavanaugh equivalent to this.
No.
Just put it that way. You're never getting Matt Damon in Kavanaugh.
Okay.
It's not happening.
No. And I love that you pronounce it Kavanaugh.
On the basis of beer. That's what it would be.
But do you know what? I thought it was a well-made film. I think it's quite linear, I suppose, in its style, and I think that might put a few people off. But in terms of good biopic, I liked Armie Hammer in it as well. Look, I liked all of the elements to it, but it was a shame it kind of went under the radar. It might have been to do with kind of when it was released as well.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit too fluffy. I think to be taken as an award.
For your cold heart.
But exactly. But I think, to be honest, it was similar to me to Marshall, which Chadwick Boseman had done, where he was Thurgood Marshall. It was the same kind of an idea of let's do a thriller with a contemporary sense of urgency about a real life historical figure.
I suppose I didn't get that whole kind of that sort of climactic feel of like when you're watching the sort of third act of this, and I think that might be its downfall. But hey, overall, if you want to learn about Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
RBG, the notorious RBG she goes by. So let's.
I love you turned her into a rapper.
No, that's what the people did. She's branded as hashtag the notorious RBG. Did you see the documentary that got nominated for?
I didn't.
We actually did Oscar night together as well.
We did.
I should know that you haven't seen that.
Yes, there's just aren't enough hours in the day.
No, of course they're not. So, over to streaming then, and we've got the debut on streaming this week of Alfred Hitchcock's talkie debut.
This is interesting that this is suddenly having like a streaming sort
Yeah,
of
they're doing an auto-driven
release.
thing at the moment on Mubi.
Okay.
So if you're a Mubi customer from Sunday, June 23rd, you get 1929's Blackmail, which I watched recently. And
Right.
actually, that really holds up.
Does
It was something deemed a bit different when it
Okay.
came out. Hitchcock liked to push the envelope with all sorts of technology, and he got his start on Blackmail, which, say, was the first one to feature sound. It is a thriller that still holds up. It's about a woman who has an argument with her lover, goes home with someone else who attempts to rape her, and then the cop who has to investigate and finds himself drawn into the case. And this is 1929.
I know. All I'm thinking of that era is like Metropolis. You know, that's what's springing to mind for the 20s. It's like it's the only movie that was ever made in the 20s for me.
You can absolutely watch that now, though it holds up. So that's Mubi from 23rd Sunday. One last one then, over on Netflix from Tuesday, June the 25th, Creed 2. We were talking about Rocky 4.
Yeah, I loved Creed. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved Creed. And I actually
did you love Creed 2?
I watched Creed 2 on an airplane, and I felt like it was almost like a step-by-step reconstruction of the first movie.
How dare you?
I know. Oh, I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I know. And actually, I was watching it side by side with my husband watching Creed 1 because I was like, and so it was really
weird
weird.
comparison.
I know. And in the end, he said, "Shall I watch Creed 2?" And I went, "No, not really, because don't worry about it. It's pretty much the same thing."
What?
Well, all right. My opinion counts too. You know.
I'm sorry. Let me just Little John this. What?
No, don't even start. Look, it is kind of the same story. He's going back for another fight, and he's having a baby, and there's all this kind of stuff. Look.
Right, all right, drop it, Philistine. God.
It doesn't mean to say I didn't enjoy it.
No. I will not tolerate it. You have sullied the good
me
name
down.
of Rocky. You have sullied the good name of Rocky, miss. How
Not
dare
really, but I
you?
did like seeing Dolph Lundgren in it. I mean, there were good elements. It just didn't float my boat in the same way that Creed blew me out of the water.
Well, I mean, now that I'm so deflated, can we have a clip?
Whatever.
Here we are.
I watched it back in Philadelphia. You showed a ton of heart. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You showed a ton of heart.
Heart? Man, I ain't trying to hit it.
D, it's Rock.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right.
You guys gotta work it out.
I lost the fight before it even started, right?
No. This guy he's a big guy. He's strong. He got the reach. He got all kinds of...
Oh, now you're trying to train me. Be my coach. No, look at me.
Michael B. Jordan there with Sly himself and Tessa Thompson. I personally really loved it. Did you enjoy it at least?
No, I did enjoy it. Don't get me
no.
wrong. Maybe I watched it in the wrong scenario. Maybe I should have watched it on the big screen.
Not on a plane then.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'd seen everything on the list on the plane except for Creed 2, and I think some of I don't know, some kids' movies or
The
something.
movie I watched on the last plane I went on.
What?
What's that documentary about the war photographer Marie
A
Colvey?
Private War. I watched that on the flight back. From
No, not the fictional one, the actual documentary.
Oh,
the
right.
first
Marie
one.
Colvin one.
The Marie Colvin documentary because they then followed it up with the actual narrative one. But it was the documentary I watched. And I was in floods of tears on the plane.
That would have been a sight to see.
I have no shame in crying. I'll cry happily. I don't mind.
And I have to say, I quite enjoyed A Private War with Rosamund Pike.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I was just thinking about Stanley Tucci's apartment from that movie the other day.
Oh, there we go.
Beautiful apartment.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There are good movies to watch on the planes. Creed 2 might not be one of them. I think it needs to be seen on a big screen to really appreciate it.
I think it's the second best Rocky movie after Rocky 4.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So
we'll be having words after this show.
I think we shall. So next week, some really bizarre choices. We've got loads of stuff to come, including Aretha, Support the Girls, Apollo 11, Yesterday, the new Richard Curtis movie, Article 15, Never Look Away, and the frankly bizarre sounding, so bizarre that I can't wait to watch it, In Fabric, to come next week. So there's
Please tell me that's about the nightclub.
You would wonder, wouldn't you? So that just gives me time to thank my guest this week, Miss Rebecca Perfect. Bex, social media handles for Come Over. Where can the people find you?
Well, actually, you can find me on Rebecca _Perfect. I don't even know my own social media handle. This is amazing. Why don't you follow me if you're interested in homeware? Why don't you follow me there on Love of the Revision? That is my new big thing.
There you go. Okay, so we can get movies. We can get movies and decorative
and
interiors.
Then, yes, you can indeed. A nice little combination there for you.
So that's it for us for this week. We'll be back next week with a fresh crop of movies. Thanks to Bex. Thanks to you for listening. This has been Off Screen, and we out.